They're saying that.
Or you can ask him to stay.
Right. Sorry. Excuse me, you're really blocking all the cameras. You're going to have to either come back or get down a bit.
Myself?
Yeah, we can't see people's faces.
Yeah, not sure enough.
You're not leaving Mike on the table.
Yeah,
Can I just have your attention for 1 minute? My name is Suresh Grover from the Monitoring Group, which is an anti-racist organization. We're running slightly late because some people have gone to Portcullis House. As you know, the venue was changed because we couldn't film in House of Commons. So we're not going to be more than 10 minutes. People are on their way in their taxis, etc. Okay? So,
my friend, hello. Will they all be speaking from there?
yeah, so I'll be chairing the press conference. And we have about 9 speakers, 3 family members, representatives from the Business for Palestine, the lawyer, the doctor, and the 2 members of Parliament. Yeah? Okay. And there's only going to be a couple of minutes each. And what we'll do is, and I'll tell you that they'll be willing to do one-to-one if you want. Okay? But we can sort that out later. Yeah, they're all. I don't
have to move this around.
No, I'm going to move them. Everybody will come to the center.
Thank you very much.
I know, I'm trying to make it really easy.
Suresh, who's the speaker on behalf of the family? We've got Shamina and Rama.
And Ella from please. Now she's not mentioned in the press conference, but so I'll give all the names. I'll give the names before we start.
Just leave it on the table.
He's not sure. Sometimes they make a plan.
Yeah.
Plus, you might end up with
Yeah.
Sorry? 11:45.
Yeah, but I think you was
Actually, this is Channel 4. I think
more direction in your
just leave it screwed on there. Oh, you can do it.
So you take this confident, it's going to be something, you take the confident and do if it's not working the way that no, one slide.
Very much.
Did you send that?
Just one last question before we start. Is anybody live streaming?
I would like to.
Yeah, we want you to. So who is live? Is Reuters? I know you're from Reuters. If I can have your name later. Okay, great. You're going to start in 2 minutes, yeah? Is Channel 4 here? No?
Yeah.
Where are you at? Well, it only goes. Yeah, it's really.
The way it works is when you speak, you get into the center. So just think in the center.
This one.
This one here?
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. On the side.
Charlotte's trumpet. Can we get some? Thanks. You got water?
Do you mind moving up?
Yeah. So, where's mine going?
Sorry, I think I might.
Yeah.
That's where I am now.
We don't want to start yet.
Are there no windows?
There are, they're open as far as I'll go.
Yeah, you've got the best spot.
If there's anybody who's not pressed and doesn't mind giving up their seat, we've got some important cash cards here if people don't mind letting them have the seat.
If you're not press, if you would be so kind.
Thank you.
Morning everyone, we're going to start now. I'm just chairing this press conference and facilitating it. As you know, 8 political prisoners held on remand for taking action to solidarity with Palestine remain on an open-ended hunger strike which began on the 2nd of November. That's 45 days, 46 days ago. This is the biggest coordinated prison hunger strike in UK history since the 1981 H-block strike in Northern Ireland. All of these people are young adults exemplifying the intense political commitment of the current generation on Palestine. All have lost a significant percentage of their body weight, and with the hunger strike in its 2nd month, are reaching a critical stage and nearing a point of no return. We have a number of contributors. Our first contributor is Francesca Nadine. She is a representative from Prisoners of Palestine. Francesca.
Thanks. Yes, I'm the representative of the 8 prisoners that have been on hunger strike since the 2nd of November. They are Kesazura, who's 20 years old. She's been on hunger strike for 47 days. Amugib, 30 years old, on hunger strike for 47 days. Hiba Moresi, 31 years old, on hunger strike for 46 days. Tuta Hotza, 29 years old, on hunger strike for 40 days. Cameron Ahmed, 28 years old, on hunger strike for 39 days. Louis Chiamarello, 22 years old, on hunger strike for 14 days. That's a partial hunger strike. He is fasting every other day because he has diabetes, which is extremely dangerous. Umar Khaled, who's 22 years old, was on hunger strike for 13 days. And John Sink, 25 years old, was on hunger strike for 41 days. Both Umar and John have now paused their hunger strike. So all of the prisoners are now in the danger zone. Most of them have been hospitalised, some of them more than once. And I think the important thing to say here is that nobody wants to go on hunger strike. These are just ordinary young people that have been forced into this situation, into this incredibly difficult and unjust situation by the British government. They have no other choice left to them because they've tried all legal avenues to get justice for themselves, to get decent prison conditions, to be treated with dignity, and all of those have failed. So they feel they've got no other choice left to them. All they've done is allegedly take action to stop the genocide in Gaza, to do the right thing. And it's clear that these cases and their treatment in prison is political. All their demands are reasonable. They're things that any citizen in any democratic country should be given automatically. They shouldn't have to go on hunger strike or make these demands. Their demands include freedom of expression and opinion whilst they're in prison. They have had consistent censorship, consistent repression as a result of their ideas. They've had hundreds of letters missing or blocked, books that they aren't allowed to have, phone calls blocked, visits disrupted, all of these because of so-called security reasons. And these security reasons are because they are being effectively treated as terrorists by the British government, and as a result of that, by the prison. So with these security reasons, no explanation has to be given for their treatment, and it seems to be completely arbitrary. There are books that are blocked that, for example, about feminism. So how is that a security risk? It just makes no sense. This seems to be a retrospective punishment since the prescription of Palestine Action, because all of the people in prison are accused of actions with Palestine Action. So their treatment has worsened considerably since this prescription. The prison now seems to think it's acceptable to treat them as terrorists, despite the fact that they don't have any conviction. They still haven't had their trial. They get spoken about by the prison staff constantly as terrorists. They're intimidated all the time. And all of this just because of alleged property damage. If this is what the government is calling terrorism, then something's gone very wrong in this country. And because of this label of terrorism as well, they are not allowed to have bail. So some of them will be on remand in prison without a conviction for up to 2 years, or even an indefinite period of time. We just don't know, because the trial dates keep getting changed. We don't know when they'll be sentenced. This is way over the legal limit of 6 months. And despite the fact that they don't even meet any of the conditions to be remanded in the first place, they're not a risk to the public. They could quite easily be sent home with appropriate bail conditions. So the question is why? Why are they being kept in prison in the first place? Because this is a political case, and that's why they feel the need to go on hunger strike, to highlight the political nature of their case and the fact that they're in prison when they shouldn't be. So despite all our efforts over this period of time, all our attempts to engage with the government, to get a meeting with us to discuss their demands on the prisoners' behalf, they've continued to ignore us. We will continue trying. We call on the government, on David Lammy, to meet with us urgently, because the lives of the hunger strikers are in their hands. It's not much to ask for a meeting. We just want to talk to them, that's all. And if they continue to ignore us, well, it's their responsibility. In prison, the government, the Minister of Justice, is responsible for the well-being and the lives of the people in prison. We can see that there's been a complete neglect of that. And by refusing to talk to us about their health situation, which is very precarious, they are now in the danger zone, refusing to talk to us about these demands, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're very worried, obviously. We just call on David Lammy, as I said, have a meeting with us, and we can end this situation safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Our next speaker. Thank you. Our next speaker is Shamina Alam. She's the sister of Kamran Ahmad. Shamina.
You're going to have to bear with me, because as you can tell, I've lost my voice. And it's symbolic of what we're going through right now, because our family has never felt this much anxiety, never dreaded phone calls as much as we have now. I think the worst feeling is when you don't receive a phone call that day. And what we've come to realise is when we don't receive a phone call, it means he's been hospitalised. Or worse, that he doesn't have the energy levels to be even able to phone. Cameron is 28 years old. He was a neighbourhood mechanic. Without him, the neighbours feel lost. There's no one to help fix their cars. He did a lot of stuff for free. He would support friends. He's gone out to people that have been stranded in Luton so he can help bring their car back. And after he got remanded, the first thing he said was, "Can you check in on the elderly lady down the road? She needs help." He wasn't worried about his situation. He just wanted to make sure that any gaps he's left were filled. We saw the outpouring of videos from Gaza and the Palestinians being slaughtered. And he couldn't look away. He couldn't continue just swiping. It drove him to stand for humanity as part of one of his core values and characteristics. And he still stands with humanity even from his cell. He has directly asked for ending the complicity of the government in the ongoing genocide by stopping having an arms company operating in the UK who are supplying the weapons that are used in the genocide of the Palestinians. He, for the last year, whilst being on remand, has bear witness to the injustice of his comrades, of fellow activists, of himself, which he has challenged both legally and through other means. But what has resulted is the most difficult decision: to starve his body of nutrients because there's nothing left. People ask me as his sister, how do I support this? Because I had to witness the injustice of the last year. I had to witness what he had to go through. Bail denied. The injustice in the courtrooms, things that we keep reporting, but it goes unheard. He's committed to the liberation of Palestine. He's committed to our rights in this country as a British citizen, to oppose this genocide, to advocate for it, the right to a fair trial, the right to have no censorship. These are not abnormal asks. They're asks of all British citizens, not just those that are inside a prison cell. And it is a great shame that we have to stand here and ask for those things. He is on day 39 of his hunger strike. He's had 2 hospitalizations since the start of his hunger strike, having only come out of his hospitalization last week. Whilst they were able to stabilize his ketones, they are steeply on the rise again. But what is mostly concerning is that his heart is giving in and his pulse is slowing down. And at the moment, he is losing half a kg every day. He started on 74 kilograms at the start of this hunger strike. He is now on 61.5 kg. And in the last 3 days, or 4 days, he's lost 3 kgs. That is showing you the rapid deterioration of our hunger strikers. So what are we waiting for? 2 weeks ago, I confronted Lamy. I spoke to him from the heart. His head of staff told me they would do everything they can to support. But yet, they continue to decline meetings. Meetings called on by us, by fellow people in Parliament. And then, when we have MPs speak up, the Ministry of Justice, people in Parliament, they laugh. They laugh at the lives of 8 people that hold so much integrity and embody the values, the British values that we were taught in school about upholding human rights and standing up for those that are being oppressed. It is great shame what is happening in the country because the integrity of the government, the justice system, is hanging on a very thin thread. And that thread is these hunger strikers. It is the actionists that are in prison. And it is our job, it is our duty to ensure that integrity doesn't break. And not just for them, but for the future of democracy, for the future of rights in this country, to ensure that we can always preserve human life and uphold it. As you can tell, I'm losing my voice. From the daily interviews, from the daily screaming at the top of my voice, hoping that someone will hear. I don't sleep anymore, and neither do my parents. We're filled with dread, and every day my dad asks the same question. Why will they not respond? He's been without food. How cruel is this? He's been in prison without trial for over a year. Why is such cruelty being enacted here? My dad is originally from Bangladesh. He did not anticipate that British government and the policing and the prison and the justice system would be this corrupt, to endanger the lives of 8 people, to endanger the liberties of all the prisoners that are currently in prison for taking alleged action for Palestine. They shouldn't have had to take alleged action for Palestine. That should have been our government. It should have been the people at the top, not the people whose hearts are too big to look away at the videos and deaths of children, mothers and fathers. As Gaza goes into the coldest winter they will ever see, and videos come out of babies being killed by hypothermia, we must ask ourselves, what are we doing? We can't even save the citizens here. We can't even help the lives out there. Then why are we even a functioning democratic society? Or are we those things at all? I carry the deepest sadness with me at all times. It sits in my heart, and I try and use courage to move forward by the people that come out every day to protest, out in the open for their freedom. But sometimes that deepness, it sinks to the bottom of my stomach. And I don't think anyone will understand the heartbreak that we face every time they get hospitalized. And then the cruelest thing that anyone could do, they cut off all communication every time they are hospitalized, with no updates on their well-being and how they are doing. So how will I ever know if my brother enters a coma? How would I ever know if he's in his last moments, when they refuse to communicate with the next of kin, with his lawyers? I've never felt that level of cruelty, and I never thought that this is what I will be feeling at the hands of the British justice system and the democracy. I was a firm believer of upholding everything we have in our systems, but what this has shown me is everything is a farce. We have so many things that we need to break down to protect everyone every British citizen that lives in this country to ensure that their rights are upheld at all times for all prisoners. No family deserves not to know what's happening to their loved one. I call upon David Lammy to please have this meeting. We haven't asked for much, and stop declining the meetings from the MP. So if you don't want to speak to us, then at least speak to your colleagues. This is not about your politics. It's about the lives of 8 individuals. And I do not want to receive the call that my brother has succumbed to this hunger strike. His heart is slowing down. So what are we waiting for? For it to stop? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rama Hoxha, who is the Hoxha. Rama.
My name is Rahma Hoxha, and my sister is T. Hoxha. She's currently on hunger strike for the liberation of the Palestinians and for the 5 demands. She's currently on day 40 of her hunger strike. She's feeling weak, her limbs are weak. She's constantly having headaches and constantly feeling nauseous. Even though she's feeling very weak, she's quite firm for her demands to be met. She believes that when everything gets stripped away from you, there is no autonomy or choice, and that the only thing she has left is her body, where she has full control over, and she is now using it against the system. My sister is struggling to drink and take medications as she feels sick and unwell. She's really suffering, and she was hospitalized, and she had to discharge herself against medical advice because they wouldn't let her speak to her next of kin or her lawyer. I don't think people realize how serious this hunger strike is, because on day 35 you can have organ failure, brain damage, and even have a heart attack. The government really needs to engage with these demands, and the demands are very reasonable. The longer this goes on, the scarier it gets for her and for my family. My sister shouldn't even have to be in prison. She's been on remand for over a year, and her trial is not until April 2026. This is actually her second hunger strike, and during her first hunger strike, the prison guards called her a terrorist, even though she's on remand, and she's alleged to take action against the genocide. She said it feels as if the government is trying to bury them alive and for them to go quietly. She said that once you're labelled a terrorist, it's like entering a black hole, where society is conditioned to accept it and not ask any questions. I feel as if the state have taken away a piece of me and shattered my heart. My sister is someone who I consider to be my best friend, my soulmate, and my mother figure. And I really need her in my life. I can't imagine a life without her, but the government is forcing us to. As now, she's instructed her doctors on what to do if she collapses, and she's also instructed to do if she passes away. This could all end tomorrow if David Lammy meets the solicitors. I love my sister. She would always look after me and take care of me. She would always motivate me. And even in prison, she still motivates me and keeps me in checks. Make sure I do all my homework and all my revision. She's always been there for me, and she would always take me out on shopping sprees, hot chocolate dates, and even come with me to my appointments, even if it took 5 minutes. And now it's been so lonely without her. And now I've learnt to grow more independent. I really, really miss my sister, and I wish the state wasn't cruel. At one point, the prison removed my number away for a month, which absolutely ruined me because it's already so hard to go visit her, because I have to bring an adult with me every time, and the prison is really far, and it takes a whole day's travel. But I am grateful, alhamdulillah, that I get to speak to her and I get to see her, even if it's just for 2 hours, because I know that the Palestinians that are detained in Israel, their families don't even know where they are, and they don't know whether they are alive or dead. The government really needs to engage with these demands. In 1980s, 10 Irish hunger strikers died. The state let them die, and now that is what they're doing. David Lammy needs to urgently meet with the lawyers to save my sister's life.
Thank you, Rahman. Next speaker is Ella Molesdale. She's Kasser Zura's family member.
Right now, I don't know where Kasser is. I don't know if she's alive. Today is day 47 of her hunger strike. And this hunger strike is about life. It's about life outside of prison bars for them, and it's about life for the Palestinian people. She's currently 20 years old. She's been held without bail in a maximum security prison for over a year. She was 19 when she was taken from us. She was just starting her second year at university, and she had her whole life ahead of her. Her only crime was that she wanted Palestinians to live, and she wanted the UK government to stop manufacturing weapons of mass destruction, quadcopter drones on UK soil. Today is day 47. Any day after day 35 is considered a critical and severe stage of starvation. After day 40, they can lose their lives at any moment. None of them have received adequate medical care. Their vital results have been withheld from many of them. They've been forced to discharge themselves from hospital. Kasser was not allowed to call me in her last 2 hospitalizations, so she was forced to return to the prison just to tell me that she was alive. She's consistently left in her cell, unable to move on her floor, and the prison guards and the prison nurses hang up on her when she's in excruciating pain and begging to be taken to hospital to receive the observations and the care that she so desperately needs. Yesterday, she was left on her cell floor for over 20 hours, waiting for an ambulance. She first called us at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. An ambulance didn't show up until 1 p.m. and didn't leave the prison until 2 p.m. She's had an extremely high heart rate and low blood pressure, which is a deadly combination. She's had severe chest pain for the last few weeks, which, if she was not in prison, would be escalated to a hospital immediately, where she would be needed to be looked after constantly to keep her alive. Yesterday, Zara Sultana, 3 highly specialized NHS staff, and hundreds of the public rallied beside me as we begged her to be taken in an ambulance. We were chanting, "What do we want? An ambulance. When do we want it? Now." Imagine having to beg for an ambulance for 20 hours for someone you love, and not knowing if they're alive, and not knowing if she's even made it to hospital. I have no confirmation that she was inside that ambulance, that she's being treated in hospital. I have no confirmation if she's alive, if she's in her prison cell. All she wants is to go home, and for this government to stop manufacturing genocide. All they want, their demands are very, very simple. Every single one of their demands is simply asking and pleading the government to uphold national and international law, which they have an obligation to. She has lost 13% of her body weight, and this is a very deadly period. She's had 2 hospitalizations before this current one, which I can only hope that she's in hospital, and she can't survive another one. This government, the prison guards, the police yesterday, 8 police vans showed up before an ambulance did to manage us, to protect the prison, instead of the life of a 20-year-old girl dying in her cell. They laugh in the face of our families who took action to uphold international law when they wouldn't. We need a meeting with the government, and we need it urgently. It's about the lives of these 8 beautiful souls, and it's about the lives of the Palestinian people who have a right to live just as much as them. And it is up to all of us to hold this government accountable. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Daniel Cooper from Imran Khan and Partners. Daniel is representing all the 8 prisoners at the moment.
Good morning, everyone. We first wrote to the Secretary of State and the Deputy Prime Minister last Tuesday, the 9th of December, to express significant concern about our clients' rapidly deteriorating health. We explained that some of our clients could not walk. They had all lost significant weight. Some clients were losing their vision, while others had their ketone levels increasing dangerously. 5 of our clients had been hospitalized by that point. We asked the Secretary of State on our clients' behalf to meet with us to try and resolve the situation before it became too late to avoid the death of one or more of our clients. We received no response. We wrote again to the Secretary of State on Thursday, the 11th of December, reiterating our request to meet. We were clear that we would not and will not in any way discuss the ongoing criminal cases or any extant proceedings, but rather the alarming and life-threatening deterioration in our client's health. We also referred him to the Ministry of Justice clinical guidance on food refusal in prison. That makes clear, and I quote, "Those most likely to bring about the resolution of the situation should be involved in discussions to try and resolve the hunger strike." Our clients say that the Secretary of State, as Minister with oversight of the prison service, is uniquely placed to bring about a resolution of the predicament. We received a letter from the Secretary of State on Monday of this week. The letter did not respond to our client's request to meet. We wrote again on Tuesday, reiterating our request to meet and updating the Secretary of State on the further deterioration in our client's health. We have received no response to this. We made it clear, and do so again today, that our request to meet with the Secretary of State is an effort to seek to resolve the immediate situation. It is an effort to prevent the loss of life. We remain at a loss to understand why the Secretary would not want to engage in a process that has the potential to save lives. Their lives are at risk in His Majesty's prisons. the government have known about this for some time, but for reasons they have not explained and which are not clear to us, they've ignored our request to meet. Our clients and we implore him to meet urgently in order to save lives. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. James Smith. James is the emergency and accident doctor and a lecturer at UCL. James.
Good morning. My name is Dr. James Smith. As mentioned, I'm an emergency physician. I've been qualified for 11 years. I'm registered with the General Medical Council. I'm also a lecturer at University College London. I'm one of several doctors, nurses and other healthcare professionals who are in regular contact with the next of kin of the hunger strikers, and I'm also in direct contact with some of the hunger strikers themselves. Most recently, I was in contact with Kessa Zura, today on day 47 of her hunger strike, who we believe and hope is now admitted to hospital. This was only made possible after the direct intervention of parliamentarians, several healthcare workers, and tens of members of the public at HMP Bronzefield yesterday. I have 3 key points I want to make this morning. The first is the imminent risk to the health and the risk of death for all of the hunger strikers at this stage. The second, the immediate care needs of the hunger strikers and their substandard treatment within the prison system at this moment in time. And the third, the urgent need for government intervention. 8 of the Filton 24 have now been on hunger strike. 2 of the hunger strikers are now on day 47, almost 7 weeks. Along with the other hunger strikers, they are all now at a critical stage. From a medical perspective, after approximately 3 weeks, the body has exhausted fat stores and begins to break down muscle and organ tissue in order to generate enough energy simply to maintain essential bodily functions. Thereafter, there is a risk that grows with every passing day of sudden, severe, and unpredictable bodily dysfunction. The heart muscle begins to break down, the kidneys are unable to filter effectively, the muscles that aid breathing are compromised, the ability to mount an immune response to infections is severely diminished, the brain is at high risk of irreversible damage, heart failure, irregular heart rhythms, and an inability to fight off infections can rapidly or suddenly cause death. On this trajectory, put simply, the hunger strikers are dying. In the last 12 months, 411 people have died or been killed in the prison system in England and Wales. This is the highest number this century. In 2018, the Care Quality Commission reported to MPs that prison services, I quote, frequently struggle to deliver safe and effective services. Many others have drawn similar and often more stark conclusions. It is my view as an NHS doctor that the complexity of the hunger strikers' care needs must now be managed with regular specialist input, if not continuous monitoring in a hospital environment. Almost 900 healthcare workers have today written to David Lammy, Wes Streeting, senior NHS officials and senior prison officials to express the same demand. Last week, more than 200 members of the British Medical Association wrote to the BMA to sound the alarm, and the BMA in turn has lobbied the government, reiterating the hunger strikers' rights to healthcare, privacy and dignity. Along with these concerns, we are alarmed by accounts of substandard monitoring and treatment within the prison system, delayed treatment for hypoglycemia, which may constitute a medical emergency, infrequent and incomplete clinical monitoring, dismissive engagement with the hunger strikers by prison staff, prolonged delays, more than 12 hours yesterday for Kessa, despite hunger strikers complaining of severe symptoms such as severe chest or abdominal pain, dangerous attempts to refeed without adequate clinical oversight, where there is a clear risk of refeeding syndrome, the shackling of prisoners while in hospital, even when they are using the toilet facilities or showering or undergoing medical examinations. This is something I have never seen or experienced in my medical career. Next of kin have frequently been kept in the dark. Kessa's next of kin doesn't even know if she is currently in. The hunger strikers are at imminent risk of irreversible damage to their bodies and of death. It is my view that it is the British government, the private corporations running the prisons, the police, and in some cases NHS service providers that are presently harming these individuals. It is imperative that the government takes the hunger strikers' demands seriously. It is imperative that David Lammy meets with the hunger strikers and their representatives, and it is imperative that the hunger strikers receive the specialist care that they need, which in my view is in a hospital environment where their rights are respected, their dignity is upheld, and their health is protected to the greatest extent possible. Thank you.
Because of the mics, everybody has to understand. Our next speaker is Charity Corbyn, an independent member of Parliament for Islington North. Charity.
Thank you, Suresh, and could I thank all of the media that have come this morning and just comment that it is very strange that in the 47 days of the hunger strike, most of the mainstream media in Britain have completely ignored the issue, refused to report it in any way, comment on it in any way, and I compare that to the 1981 hunger strikes in Northern Ireland when there was wall-to-wall media coverage during the whole of those hunger strikes. I also have supported and represented constituents and others that have taken hunger strike action in the past, and even during the period of a Tory government during the 1987 election, I was contacted directly by the then Home Secretary. Those days the Home Office was responsible for prisons, in order to ensure that an appropriate meeting took place to bring about a resolution to those particular hunger strikes. I contrast that with the behaviour of the Ministry of Justice and the Prime Minister's office in relation to the current hunger strikes that are going on. You've heard very, very powerful testimony from the families this morning, and from the lawyers, and from a very senior and very well respected doctor as the nothing more, just a meeting between the Secretary of State for Justice and representatives of those taking this action. The Minister of State responded bluntly no to me, and some of his colleagues, to their eternal disgrace, laughed at the strength of his response. I find that contemptible. I find it contemptible that members of Parliament should derive some kind of amusement from a minister's obdurate refusal to carry out his own responsibilities.
Shame on them.
And yesterday, I asked the Prime Minister on this, and he said, and this can be quoted back at him at any time, he said that he was satisfied that all the relevant prison regulations and conditions were being adhered to. If he accepts that that's the case, then surely he should think of his role as Prime Minister is to make sure that public services operate in a proper and legal manner. He didn't do that. And so we are now demanding, again, at a meeting with the Secretary of State. John McDonnell and myself and Shokhat Adam, who's just arrived, will be attempting to speak this afternoon in what's known as the Christmas adjournment debate in Parliament, and will be making that demand again. The issue is, of course, fundamentally the genocide in Palestine, is the loss of now 70,000 known deaths in Gaza, and of course is the support that the people of Palestine have from ordinary people up and down this country. And I implore all of you, just think for a moment of those people undertaking hunger strike. To me, they're brave people. To me, they go in the traditions of the suffragettes, of the Irish hunger strikers, and many others who took the ultimate action of deliberately damaging their own bodies in order to draw attention to a greater crime that is going on. And these are not criminals, they are remand prisoners who've been told now their trial date is being delayed until at least 2027 in some cases. They've already been an inordinate length of time remanded in custody, and if the Justice Department gets its way, that will just go on and on. So, to David Lammy and to Keir Starmer, if you're watching this press conference, do what your job requires you to do. Uphold the prison regulations and make contact with the representatives of the hunger strikers in order to save life. It is in your hands. Thank you. Sorry?
Could you name those MPs that laughed?
Just want to finish this.
No, I can't.
Jeremy, please don't. We could sort this out later. I just want to finish this. John, do you want to just comment here?
Yeah.
Our next speaker is John MacDonald, Member of Parliament for Hayes and Harlequin.
Just very briefly, because you.
Shaukat Adam is a Member of Parliament for Leicester.
Okay. John? Just very briefly, I'll run you through the parliamentary interventions that have taken place so far, because it's quite important to recognise the scale of representations that have been made to the David Lammy in particular. We've used every parliamentary device we possibly can. We tabled an early day motion at the beginning of September, simply calling for David Lammy to intervene to review the treatment of the prisoners. Over 50 MPs signed that early day motion. We've then held meetings with the families. We've written on numerous occasions now. We put a letter together of all those MPs that were at that meeting. There were over 10. It took David Lammy 9 days to respond to that letter. So as a result of the lack of response, on a daily basis, various MPs have been raising points of order, Jeremy, Apson, Begum, myself and others. In addition to that, we sought a meeting with David Lammy directly. There was no response, exactly as the lawyers have said, there was no response whatsoever. Some of us were around in 1981. I was a GLC councillor, so some of us know the potential outcome here, and that's why we're treating it so seriously. We're simply asking, exactly as John Cooper said, as the lawyer said, we're simply asking David Lammy to implement the advisory process on these situations, which is to enter into dialogue and discussion. We'll be raising it in Parliament again. We're urging David Lammy, because he's the Secretary of State for Justice and it's his responsibility, the prisons are under his responsibility. But there have been circumstances as well, and I'll be raising it in Parliament today, is that David Lammy, if he's not willing to meet, one of the processes that we've used in the past is to appoint a mediator as a matter of urgency to undertake the first discussions that could then lead on to ministerial discussions. So we're asking that today. And we're asking that, I think, because, as you've heard, we're desperate now. We're desperate for a resolution of this, and it would not be much to ask for David Lammy to simply appoint someone to start those discussions off. Jeremy, and as I said, we've been down to the prison to visit, both some of the hunger strikers, but also some of those who actually have their case being heard at the moment, who've been inside now over 18 months. And we've raised the basic conditions of humanitarian treatment within those prisons. And as you've heard today, by any standard, those conditions are not being met. Those responsibilities not being adhered to. So I don't think it's much to ask for David Lammy simply now take this matter seriously, enter into a process of discussions so we can resolve this matter quickly, and yeah, we can save these young people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Last contributor is Shaukat Adam from Leicestershire, independent member of Parliament.
Thank you, everybody. I'll keep this brief, as my seniors have already spoken. I remember the day very well in Parliament because many, if not all, of the female MPs were wearing a sachet commemorating the suffragettes on the day Palestine Action was proscribed as a terrorist organisation. And I see this as an extension and a trajectory of where this government is going. And this latest case is for me, is a case of ignominy on top of an injustice that happened in the first place, which was on top of the inhumanity that we have been showing as a country. These individuals were standing up to the massacre and the destruction of an innocent people. And for me, I always humanize it with one person, and that is Hind Rajab, a 6-year-old. We have tried as parliamentarians, as media, as politicians, but we have failed to stop the killing and the suffering. These individuals decided to make sure that they could do everything in their means to stop that from happening, and our participation as a country in what is undoubtedly a genocide in Gaza. And this is an extension of where our country will go towards in order to make sure that we are not implicated. And that is why we will stand strongly and firmly with the prisoners. And as everything, as my colleagues have said, John and Jeremy, we will continue to fight to get justice both for the prisoners in this country and all those in across the world that are suffering at the hands of all oppressors. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. That ends the press conference. We're not taking any questions, but if you have one-to-ones, please come to me and I'll arrange it. Okay? Unless there are specific questions on health.
Can I ask a specific question?
Specific question on health.
Well, I can't ask a question on health because that's a matter of privacy and I don't have much of a issue on the hunger strike. Can I ask a legal question, please, sir?
Sorry?
Can I ask a legal question, please, sir?
No, you can't, I'm afraid.
I think there's an important legal question that why, if I appreciate the concerns people are raising, I don't understand why legal action hasn't been initiated given those concerns.
We can't answer that at this moment. There's a very reasons for it. We would if we could. I'm not trying to be evasive. We just want to
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in a press TV.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, we just have to find some space that's kind of a bit quieter, I guess. Let me just have to look. Great job. That's
Why would they call me if they not?
Who said that?
The prison. That's who I
No.
interviewed.
But, oh my God, I didn't realise. Oh, they called you and then hung up?
Did you not see when Jeremy was talking like that?
Yeah, but I didn't know. Sorry.
The prison called me.
Yeah.
And they said,